One in there.
If you want to photo the inside, you can get the
You're right.
Yeah. See how bad it is.
Look.
Yeah, much bigger one than this. The more evidence we've got, the better.
First of 1,000 sandbags arriving in Hastings this morning as the town centre seeks to protect itself in any way it can. Richard Martin knows the pain only too well. The basement of his bar flooded waist deep on Saturday. He lost thousands in stock and electrical equipment.
It was just unknown of whether it's going to happen again. We don't want to go through what happened on Saturday. And also January early this year as well. We should have taken good money on Saturday, but we lost all our takings. We've got bills and staff to pay, going into a tough winter anyway, and then we got this on top of it.
Here in Hastings, they're hoping for the best, but planning for the worst.
We saw it on Saturday. We saw it nothing like as bad on Monday, but we still saw flooding in basements. I think that the town is charged with water underneath, and anything that comes on top of that is going to be a massive problem for us.
Saturday saw floodwater erupt through the town centre for the second time in 10 months.
Well, as you can see,
tobacconists lost up to £60,000 worth of stock in the weekend's flood. Another hit would threaten the very future of the business.
I don't know, I just need to look after myself also because we need to cover into the first things like put down the sandbag and everything like that. We can just save our stock still. I hope so. They need to help us to recover our money. That's the thingy only.
Around the corner, Katie and Richard Martin may be the first to know if another flood is coming. The cellar of their bar is amongst the first to fill with water.
It's so worrying. So obviously tonight we've got the storm coming in. You just think, what do I do? Pop a camp bed downstairs and see whether it floods again. But then you can't.
No one's accepting responsibility. So the council and Southern Water, even they kind of like throw it towards each other. And it's like with us, we can't get insurance because we're on a flood area. So our insurance stipulates that we just can't get insurance on it.
Last weekend's flooding at the Priory Meadow shopping centre was the second here in 10 months.
We've been here for 150 years. It's a successful town. But if something has changed, if something is happening that is causing this problem to get worse, we'll struggle to have business come here. We don't want that to happen. We're going to be pushing the authorities as hard as we possibly can to get long-term solutions in which will fix this problem.
8 massive pumps have been installed beside the beach, capable of shifting 1,000 litres of water a second if Priory Meadow floods again. This latest...
It's a major tragedy, the whole event, but it's not the first tragedy we've had this year on the same occasion. People are angry, upset, and rightly so.
Good evening. Businesses and homeowners are counting the cost of serious flooding in Hastings, with Southern Water under fire once again after its systems were overwhelmed by high tides and heavy rain.
Traders are mopping up after fast-flowing floodwater damaged premises and destroyed stock, with more than a dozen people still unable to return home. Southern Water has a team in town organising help for those affected, but there's more heavy rain on the way, as James Dunham now reports.
The clean-up continues, businesses hoovering up several thousands of pounds in damages. While the floodwater has subsided since Saturday, the anger and frustration has not.
I can't see anything has been done.
Kasim's sandwich shop was back open today with a side of sandbags in front of the door.
Is he coming to get me?
His staff rescued by firefighters as he wonders who will step in to save his business from going under if this happens again.
I'm just worried really. I'm going to lose my business. I took over just last year this business. And suddenly now it's just, I feel like I'm losing everything.
Next door, repairs to the wiring, water and electricity don't mix.
It was about sort of 2 foot deep, I would say. Hopefully we're going to get through it and get moving forward. It's just frustrating that these things happen, and we want to try and get to the bottom of finding out who's responsible and what's going to happen next.
60 millimetres of rain fell in less than 24 hours, with the drainage system overwhelmed. Southern Water say thousands of tonnes of water pressure was met with the high tide, meaning it was difficult to flow out into the sea. But the town has been here before. This was January, when the same streets, the same shops and same homes were affected. A recent report by East Sussex County Council said discussions on flood prevention had been taking place between them and Southern Water.
There has been a degree of people not being sure about whose responsibility things are, so it's been passed from person to person, from organisation to organisation. I hope now that we can get everybody around the table properly and just make sure everyone understands where their responsibilities lie.
This lunchtime, Southern Water met with many of the affected residents, with 19 of them unable to return home.
It's not the first tragedy we've had this year in the same location. People are angry, upset, and rightly so.
What I've heard today, if I'd heard it the first time, might have sounded quite good, but I've heard it before.
But it'll be the same old story. The council will blame Southern Water and Southern Water blame the council.
It's really a joint effort between ourselves, East Sussex County Council, Hastings and the Environment Agency to come up with a permanent long-term solution to fix the flooding problem in Hastings.
You all said that in January and it's happened again. Nothing's been done in the last 10 months.
Yes, plenty's been done in the last 10 months. So we have fitted anti-flood devices to a number of the properties, and then the key aspect of repair work was the Pelham outfall, the pipe through which all the surface water goes. There's no point in me giving people false hope. It will take a while to sort out the permanent solution.
The weather in Hastings today has been pretty relentless, and it doesn't look like there'll be much let up either over the next few days, with warnings of continued heavy rain in place. And that all adds to the unease for businesses in this town who fear that severe flooding could happen again. Extra pumps have been brought in to remove water, but even before Storm Kieran arrives on Wednesday, the drainage system was again this afternoon showing its strain. James Dunham, ITV News, Hastings.
Good evening. Shops, businesses and homes have been evacuated because of serious floods in Hastings. Traders in the town centre say they're bracing themselves for more disruption as more heavy rain is predicted. It comes after severe downpours hit the same area in January. Tony Green has the latest.
This was the scene at Hastings this morning. Heavy rain bringing the return of floods to the town centre, echoing scenes from 9 months ago. Store owners reliving a nightmare they had barely recovered from.
This year we have a second flooding here, and this time is the worst. We nearly lost 50 to 60,000 worth of stock in this shop, and this shop is hit the most financially in this town.
I've no idea how much we've lost this time. We're not even meant to go in there now because
apparently there may be another flood at 4 o'clock today.
I mean, tonight it's Halloween night, and you've got pubs and clubs who are gearing up for a profitable night, evening that have seen them through to Christmas levy, and most of them just won't be able to open now.
There was a lot of rain here last night. There's going to be a lot of rain here this evening. So for now, what we're making sure is that we've got the emergency services on the scene, that whatever happens this evening, we're able to cope with it.
It's not just Southern Water. We need to see action from the Environment Agency, from highways and from other authorities to work together on attenuation measures to stop this happening again.
Today there was little agreement on how to fix the problem, just fear that it will return. Tony Green, ITV News, Hastings.
Good evening. Welcome to South East Today. I'm Marcella Whittingdale. Heavy showers and strong winds have meant flooding and travel problems across the South East. Flood warnings are in place for Hastings, Alfriston and Seaford in Sussex, while alerts are active around the Ouse, Coombe Haven and the Cuckmere rivers. There are also flood alerts on the Kent coast from Fairlight to Dungeness. Heavy flooding has meant trains haven't been able to run between Hastings and Ashford, while in Hastings town centre, the Priory Meadows shopping centre had to be evacuated, as Ian Palmer reports.
Hastings town centre has flooded again.
Frustrated?
Kate Davidson runs a furniture store for low-income families. She's lost thousands of pounds in damaged stock.
We've seen furniture sort of all over the place because it was flooded out and it was sort of floating around. And that's just really heartbreaking to see.
This is the second time Hastings has been flooded in the past 10 months. Back then, people were expressing emotions of anger. Now, expressing nothing but rage.
It's a disaster. To put it simply, it's a disaster.
The basement of William Sparcier's business is underwater. He spent £500,000 in building his company in Hastings, and now wishes he hadn't.
It's a man-made cause. This is not something. Rain is rain. We do understand that. We understand what happened when it rains and flooded. But this was completely predictable.
By strange quirk, the flood report following the deluge of water at the beginning of the year was published this week. The town's MP says the findings don't go far enough.
They need to look at what needs to be done to stop this happening again, because people are obviously extremely anxious. I've seen tears this morning, and people are beside themselves with anger and anxiety.
If you're the small newsagents down the road there that's just lost £60,000 worth of stock in a few minutes, and something could have been done about it, yeah, I mean, I just, my heart goes out to businesses like that. He's on the verge of bankruptcy probably.
The forecast for tonight is for more rain, and it's just the beginning of the wet season. More water is assured. For that reason, Hastings has a battle. Ian Palmer, BBC South East Today.
Now, even before Kieran hit, many towns along the south coast had already been dealing with heavy rain in the aftermath of Storm Babette. Hastings town centre suffered severe flooding just last weekend, and today residents brace for more bad weather with amber weather warnings in place for winds of 60 miles per hour. Well, I went down there a little earlier today and spoke to John Bonas from Love Hastings, which represents businesses in the town.
So you were taking calls through the night, monitoring everything. As the sun came up this morning, I mean, just look at the conditions behind us. We're still very much, feeling the effects of the storm. What had happened overnight to businesses in Hastings?
Well, fortunately, very little, except for wind damage, of course.
Yeah.
And at 6, 7 in the morning, this morning, I had to call out the fire brigade because we had roof slates flying across the town centre. It was potentially lethal, and fire brigade were on hand very quickly to cordon off parts of the centre so that people weren't going to get hurt.
Just how prepared were you for this extreme weather that we're experiencing?
We were prepared in the sense that Hastings has experienced flooding like this in the past, so people were, in a sense, are used to these events occurring.
Started the year back in January, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Only 10 months ago, they saw water flooding up through their basements, they saw water pouring in through their front doors off the road. So, they've experienced it recently, but, the measures just weren't in place to stop that from, individual properties from being damaged again. And that's when we had to sort of, we saw what was potentially coming in this, last night. And a huge multi-agency task force was kind of mobilised, basically to get the plans in place that would, if we had been hit with heavy rain last night, hopefully have held the waters back.
So what's been the effect on local businesses? Because after what happened during Storm Babette, some of them just didn't open their doors again this week because they saw Storm Ciarán coming.
Once you're looking at, flooded cellars and damaged stock, with the thought that the same thing might happen a few days later, yes, a couple of them, or several more than a couple of them, made that exact decision of just saying, well, we'll shut up. If the waters rise again, so be it. We'll take that on the chin and then get started once this weather system's gone past.
Do they feel like they're being supported enough by the local council, by the Environment Agency, not just in terms of warnings, but in terms of flood prevention? Like, what plans are in place?
I would say that the consensus is no, they don't feel supported enough. The fact that they've been hit twice in 10 months by such severe flooding just leaves them feeling as if they're struggling on their own, and they can't get, a lot of them can't get insurance. They are at that point where they're thinking, is it worth continuing to trade? And I think it's all of our jobs to say to them, yes, it is. You can get back on your feet, and we will get plans in place which will, keep Hastings rolling into the future.
So the big question.
Well, following those floods, Southern Water installed this pumping station to help alleviate any future floods. Now, the rainfall this time round wasn't that heavy, thankfully. Here with me now is the town centre manager, John Bonus. John, what is this pumping station doing?
Okay, well, these 8 pumps would have been shifting around about 1,000 litres of water every second at their maximum capacity. That's water that flows down through the town from streams to the north, comes under the town, and eventually goes out to the sea just behind us. The purpose of this operation was basically to alleviate pressure on that pipe behind the shopping centre, because that's where on Saturday and back in January we saw water pouring through the road, pouring through an open manhole and streaming down through to flood the town centre.
Now, the weather today and yesterday hasn't been as bad as expected. This pumping station, will it actually make a difference?
We believe so. There's been a big multi-agency team working on this for the last few days, since we saw the floods on Saturday, and all of the maths, all of the best thinking says that this will do the job. It'll take the pressure off that system. If, however, that had failed, we deployed around 1,500 sandbags throughout the town in front of all the shops and businesses and homes that we knew were potentially going to flood. And beyond that, obviously the fire crews were on standby with high velocity pumps, so should the town have flooded, they'd have got the water out as quickly as possible.
Okay, John, well, thanks for that. Hopefully the scenes that we saw here last Saturday won't be repeated again. But just a reminder that this heavy rain and gusty winds will continue in the southeast for several more days.